So hi guys, thanks for joining me and welcome to another Python tutorial video. So this video is going to be on optional parameters. Now we've already gone over functions where you give your function a set number of parameters. Now I'm going to create a function called hello, and let's say we want this function to take we're going to have it take a message or a name and a message. Okay. And then we're going to print, we'll just print the name and the message. Okay, now I'm going to just call this function, I'm just going to say Bob, and then hello. Bob, hello. Oh, I guess I could have added a space there, but anyway. So, let's say I wanted to, instead of having to say this hello message every time, let's say I want the default message to be hello. So I can write up here, hello. And I'm still going to call this function just with the keyword Bob. Okay, it still says Bob hello, even though I'm not passing it the hello. Well, that's because this message right here is already defined as a default value of hello. So let's say we want to say something other than hello. Like hi. Okay. It says Bob hi. So that's because this parameter is overriding that default parameter, basically. So I'm just gonna let's do another example. And we'll just call it num. And we're gonna give it a number, and we're gonna give it a second number. And we're gonna just by default set this number equal to 2. And let's say we want to then print our our two numbers added together. And then again we can call this function. And let's say we start off with just calling this function with 1. Okay, it prints out 3 because what it's doing is it's adding 1 towards that default parameter of 2 to get 3. Now let's say we give it a second parameter of 3. 4, because it adds these two numbers together. Okay, so hopefully that made a little bit of sense. Okay, so sometimes maybe your teachers told you that every time you create a function, it needs to be you need to know in advance the number of arguments that are going to be passed into that function. Well, if your teacher did tell you that, they were lying. So sometimes we don't know the number of arguments that can be passed into a function. Now we can actually handle this kind of situation with an arbitrary number of arguments. So let's say I'm gonna say we'll say hello again, and let's say we're gonna want to say hello to a lot of people. Okay, so I'm just gonna print out, say Bob, Tim, and Joe. And then when we call this function, we know that we're gonna give it 3 arguments because we've already passed it, or we're gonna give it 3 parameters because it's already been passed to these arguments. Oh, sorry. I meant to say, this is supposed to say name 2, name 3, and then the names that are going to be passed to it, we're going to say hello, Bob, Tim, and finally Joe. Okay, and then so we're just printing out those names. Now, let's say we don't know how many names. So, what we can do is we can use an asterisk before our name. And you've probably seen, but when I first started programming, I had trouble with something and I looked it up on Stack Overflow and I saw that they had that they had an asterisk by the parameter. So what that means is that it can take any number of arguments. So let me show you what I mean by that. You don't have to declare a certain, it can take any number. So I can say for name and names, I'm just going to create a little for loop right here. There we go. And I'm going to say print name. And now let's say we want to give it, or I guess what would be a good idea is since I named this function hello, we can say hello plus our name. So I'm going to say Joe. Let's just say we want to say hello to Joe. Hello, Joe. Now let's say Joe has some more friends. We can say hello to Tim. Oh, now we can say hello, Joe and Tim. We can say hello, Bill, Jim. Okay, great. Let's run this. Okay, so if you can't tell, we can pass any number. We can pass any number of arguments to this function. Okay, so in this video, we've gone over optional parameters, and we've gone over how to handle things for any number of arguments or parameters. So you guys could have been anywhere, but thank you for watching this video with me, and hopefully you were able to learn a little bit more Python. Now, if you haven't seen my other videos on functions, I highly recommend watching those.